Hello everyone and welcome to the Commexis Cast Daily for Wednesday, January 10th, 2017. All the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. I'm Matthew McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I'm joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Phillip Brooks.
Good morning.
So today we're going to talk about some Snapchat news that came out from the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast received reports that were leaked to them regarding some user statistics for basically all of Snapchat's features. Typically, Snapchat likes to keep these things pretty close to the chest, especially their president. So being able to get some insight on there is pretty interesting. So the first talked about Snap Maps. So Snap Maps, for those of you who might not be aware, basically allow users to follow and report stories by location, find out where your friends are and what they're doing, and a couple more things. So originally, that peaked at 35 million unique daily users in June when it came out, shortly thereafter, and started to drop roughly 40% by September. So all of these stats for reference are from April to September. So Snap Map, in the article on the Daily Beast, you'll read that they were kind of hoping that this would be almost like Instagram's sort of discover page, where you'd be able to find what your friends are doing, but also find just other interesting things going on. And it seems like it is definitely not helped people do that. I think they said about 11% of people on Snapchat use Snap Maps daily, which is a very small portion of their user base. I personally, I don't know about you, I don't know how often you use Snapchat to begin with, but I know for me, I did not really ever use it. I think I immediately made myself invisible on it. In fact,
I think the majority of people are still not quite ready for that level of connectedness where it constantly broadcasts where you are, not just to the holder of the tool or the program, but to your actual network of people, family and friends. I can see how many ways that could potentially go wrong. Especially if for example, you're away or something like that, and your home gets burglarized, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see why people would be reticent or just feel like it's a little bit too intrusive.
Yeah. So while Snapchat Snap Maps did not do particularly great, there are a couple interesting daily user statistics that actually aren't too bad. So Snapchat users spend an average of 34.5 minutes per day on the app in September, which was a slight decline from August, but overall it seems to be increasing. And in comparison, Instagram had younger users at about 32 minutes per day on its app. So they're kind of even with Snapchat being a couple minutes ahead. In August, there were 64% more likely to send a snap to a friend than post to stories, and sent an average of 34 chat messages per day. So one of the things in the article that they talk about is that while Snapchat has not been amazing in terms of a social media platform conventionally like Facebook or Twitter or something like that, it has been really good for direct messaging with people. In fact, most messages, and this is something that surprised some advertisers for the platform, were surprised by just how often people were sending picture messages. More often than not, people were sending picture messages, which is something that's rarer on Facebook Messenger and iMessage and stuff like that. And I find this really interesting because it was so shocking, and when you read it, you go, oh yeah, that is really odd.
That's kind of what it was for.
But then when you think of its original usage, the whole point is, talk with your friends and send them pictures. And I think that's one of those things where people can't always wrap their head around Snapchat. But when you think about it, when I use Snapchat, I might maybe post a thing to my story once a month, but I'm sending Snapchats, either text or pictures, multiple times every day. Yeah. So I definitely think that's something particularly interesting.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you have to look back to the original intended purpose of the platform, which was literally to send images that would then disappear in a relatively short period of time, and then they sort of ballooned that out into the story functionality that was being used by Instagram and stuff. But really it was intentionally created for that very purpose. And I think that in the beginning it had kind of a less than savory reputation because of the implications of, well, what kind of content would I want to send quickly and then have it disappear? So I think it's not surprising to me that that's what people are still doing with it. I don't necessarily agree that it's still the best way to do those sorts of things, because obviously you can still screenshot your screen. But I think that it all really comes back to recognizing what you created the platform for, and understanding that the majority of the users that are still on here are using it for that intended purpose, and rejecting some of these additional functionalities that you're trying to expand it with.
Yeah, and a small final note, the article also goes into Snapchat's redesign, and some of the controversies that has come with. Basically, they're going to be breaking up the personal stories that you have with users' friends, and breaking up that from the Discover tab. Previously, they were more or less in the same area, so after you would scroll through all of the stories of your friends, you would see some of the Discover content in the middle and then towards the bottom, and then you could swipe once more over and you would get all of that content. So they're going to be breaking that up in the redesign, which has some advertisers worried, because the Discover tab is not used particularly often. Fewer than 21% of Snapchat daily users view Discover content, with its usage peaking on July 24th, according to the Daily Beast data. So people are worried that advertisers are definitely going to be potentially dropping off of this, and we'll have to see. Obviously breaking up that content leads to people potentially using the personal side a lot more. Yeah,
well, I think the key with Snapchat is really the demographic data as opposed to anything else. As far as the effectiveness of the advertising, you're still not going to reach that audience anywhere better in that specific age group than you are on Snapchat. In the debate, you can debate the effectiveness or their amount of ready cash or that kind of thing, and how much they spend on certain things. But if you're looking to hit that sub-millennial age group, it's the only place to go. So that kind of stuff, while somewhat concerning, should still not temper your enthusiasm for trying to put stuff in that basket, because if that's where you're trying to go, that's where you need to go.
Absolutely. And our second story for today, some interesting things about Google PageSpeed Insights.
Yeah, so we tend not to cover just kind of standard rock solid SEO stuff too often on here, because it's somewhat esoteric. But we at heart, it started off in digital, and SEO is an important part of everything that we do for our clients. And we know that and we've stressed in the last couple of years that Google has started to ding people based on page speed metrics for their sites. So Google PageSpeed Insights is a good way to check and see how well your site's loading, how quickly it's loading, and they've recently folded in real data from Chrome users that actually will take that data and give it some more context, applying it to some individual metrics that they've created. They have 3 speeds that they grade by: fast, slow, and average, and that categorizes all of those things by the lower, mid, and third tiers. And they have these 2 individual metrics called first contentful paint and content loaded, DOM content loaded. If both metrics are in the top 1/3, they're considered a fast page. So there's a lot of different things to unpack here, but the important thing is that we're actually taking real world data and applying it to some of these metrics, so you can really see if your site's being affected by some of these page speed problems. You can look and see what some of your peers are doing, and at least have a better reference point for how things are working, and what you can do to tackle some of those issues. So remember, again, if your site speed is not as fast as it can be, it can absolutely affect your organic rankings. It's something that we really, really stress here, because it's just something that Google's looking out for.
Yeah, and as I actually went on the PageSpeed tool while I was doing some research for the podcast today, and I had never used it before, so obviously, I'm sure many people watching or listening probably have, but I was surprised at how easy it was. Just type in the URL, hey, give you a bunch of information.
Yeah, and I really do like that they've given the optimization suggestions for the most part. So here, that certainly helps anybody that's just kind of looking and wondering, well, what kind of deficiencies is my site facing? Is this a huge problem to fix? Is this a small problem to fix? We did talk a little bit yesterday about the day before prior, actually about some of the things that are loading in the background on your sites that absolutely can help your page speed, hurt your page speed as well. So, just remember that Google's emphasis is always on user experience, and a slow loading page is considered a very negative metric for Google for user experience. And that's why that's a major factor in ranking.
There you go. Get those page speeds going up. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in for today's episode of the Commexis Cast Daily. Check us out tomorrow for more of the latest trending news. Have a great day.